Hi guys, 911 Targa 3.2 came to us for the dry ice blasting. We're really excited to get going on this car. The car will receive the anti-corrosion treatment and a passivation of the exhaust. So Max is just about to begin and have a look how the process is done here at Konings Detailing and the finished results.
So, the car's now elevated on the ramp. We're about to begin the dry ice blasting process. The first stage though, we're going to treat this lovely stainless steel exhaust. So what we do for this is we have the TIG brush. So what this is a passivation process. So we have an electrical node and acid, and that acid is electrically charged on the substrate, which is going to clean it. So the process will be, we'll have the acid, electrically charge it, we'll then have a neutralizing fluid just to remove that first layer of acid, and then the final step will have a pH neutral solution just to make sure the whole surface is cleansed and ready to go for the coating. So the first solution we have is the TB25. This is the cleaning fluid or the acid given to us by TIG brush for this specific device. And then the second stage will be the neutralizing fluid after the acid has been electrically charged. And then the final solution will just be one which is pH neutral, just to remove all the final chemicals and prepare the surface for the coating. So we've now completed the first step, which was using the TIG brush and the passivation process just to clean up all these areas of the exhaust really nicely. So they're looking lovely and shiny now. We're going to move on to the dry ice blasting process. So the first stage, we're just going to have a visual inspection. We can see there's lots of protective coatings like wax oils and things that have been applied before. So it's good to understand where the ice is going to perform its best, because what we can do on the machine is manipulate the size of the pellets of ice that we fire, how many kilograms of ice we fire, and at what pressure we fire it at. So it's good just to have an understanding of where we need to modulate the different sizes of the particles and pressures before we begin. And yeah, we can see there's lots of wax oils and things that are built up over the years, so these will all be removed really nicely. And yeah, the idea is to make it look as clean as possible, just like we did already on the exhaust. So let's crack on.
So the car has been previously treated with anti-corrosion treatment. It does look like this is the wax oil, which basically masks all the substrate, so it's very difficult to identify the true condition of the car. So over here you can actually see we have done the blasting to partially half of the car. So this is all dry ice blast area, and when we move to the other side, this is before the blasting. So have a look, this is after blasting and before the blasting. We don't know if it's corroded or not. After we remove the anti-corrosion treatment and blast the car, you can actually see the true condition. It's very important to note the dry ice blasting has its limitation. So it's not as powerful as sandblasting, and is designed to actually remove all the contamination and expose the true condition of the car. So as you can see, there is some surface corrosion, some areas where the paint been chipped. However, everything is still intact. If we would be doing the sandblasting or even soda blasting, some of this original paint would be removed right to the substrate. So at least at this stage we know what the car looks like. So now we have finished dry ice blasting and applied the anti-corrosion treatment. So as you can see, everything is really nice and clean. Obviously, bear in mind, this is 40 years old car, so there is a limitation what can be done. The dry ice, as I said a number of times, it's not the restoration method, it's actually cleaning method. So I think we did achieve exactly what we wanted to achieve. Everything is nice and clean. Rust converter been applied, anti-corrosion treatment. So at this instance, the customer can keep an eye on the car, and within the next 5 to 10 years, probably will need to be cleaned and just assessed again. But I think we're good for the years to come.
So there's a few frequently asked questions that we're going to cover. So what's the dry ice made out of?
So the dry ice is made out of the CO2, which is basically nothing else that's really compressed CO2. The beauty of our supplier is actually they are using the CO2 which been recaptured from other industrial processes, so it is very clean way of cleaning, so it is very sustainable.
Does it remove rust?
Well, yes and no. So it's, as I mentioned a number of times, it's not as powerful as sandblasting, but it's the safe way of cleaning. So if we have the very small amount of the surface rust on relatively new or not very old components, it can remove the rust. However, heavily corroded parts, I'm afraid it has its limitations. So simply answering question, yes and no, really.
Does it damage original stickers?
The beauty of it is the machine we use, which is the ColdJet PCS60, we can adjust not only the size of the particle of the dry ice, but also the pressure. So that means if we adjust the very low pressure and small size of the particles, we can retain original stickers which are completely intact.
What can it not be used on?
The dry ice can be used on everything, including all the interior leather fabrics. If we can adjust it correctly, the pressure and the size of the particles and the volume of the ice used, then it can be used on all the surfaces.
Why would people choose dry ice blasting?
Well, the dry ice blasting again is a very safe method of cleaning, is very sustainable and very gentle for the surface. So on a high value, very rare classic cars where it's very important not to damage the surface, not to add the profile as you would do using the sandblasting, the dry ice blast solution is the number one way to go.
How much does it typically cost?
Well, the cost of the dry ice blasting is based on the amount of the ice we have to use, the time for the blasting, the difficulty of the accessible area, the amount of the parts that we need to disassemble. It can range from several £100 to several £1,000.
How long does it usually take?
Well, so in this instance, this Porsche took us 27 hours of blasting, cleaning and finishing. It can take anything from 15 to 50 hours on average.
Is it worth it?
Well, this is the question to our customers. Well, I think it is worth it. The feedback we're getting from the customers is nothing but superb. As long as we set the correct expectation, then 9 out of 10 we always exceed them. So this is the dry ice blasting. It arrives in these 3mm pellets. And these are crushed to very small particles to do the blasting process. So let's just quickly have a look on the wheel arch area. So we have cleaned all the dirt. We managed to remove all the previous anti-corrosion treatment from the shocks. When you have a look on this, which is I believe the water tank, it all cleaned really nice. Obviously now we already have applied the protection over it, so it's nicely sealed, but actually it can achieve pretty good results. As for the brake calipers, these has been treated with the rust converter. and then with the Dinitrol, so they are looking nice and original. They haven't been repainted, they just been treated. Let's just talk about the limitation of the dry ice. As you can see, the suspension arms cleaned really well when we compare to the starting point. So all this cleaned really well. However, some of these areas we were unable to clean it. Even though that this hasn't been cleaned, it still gives us a very good understanding of the true condition of this car. And after application of the Dinitrol over all these components, these will stay looking as good as they do now over next 5 to 10 years. So we wouldn't expect to see the car anytime before that. So it's not super permanent solution like any corrosion, any treatment, but it's definitely worth it. Hi guys, so the car is now finished. We also touched a few areas inside the engine compartment. So the anti-corrosion has been done, the full dry ice on the underfloor. If you have the car that you think would be perfect for us to take some footage and would like the Konings detailing to detail it, please get in touch, have a chat with myself or Max or Louis or anyone of our members of the team, and we'll be able to explain more about the process, and hopefully your car can be featured in our videos as a next project.